Well, hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So, what on earth is this that I've got wrapped around myself? Well, it's called a Tzedakah hug. And I'm going to show you how you can assemble one of these and use them for Tzedakah gifts. So, I'll just take all this off now. This is the most simple thing that you can do in continuation from our previous video when we talked about the act of tzedakah, kindness, giving, etc. And so in Australia now, we are actually in the midst of winter. So while we don't have quite as severe winters where I live compared to other parts of Australia and other parts of the world, but however, they can get pretty brutal. Now, one of the things in winter is that children especially, and perhaps the elderly and the homeless, really are in need of warmth. But you have to consider practicality and versatility. So that's what I'm going to show you. And you can get a group of your friends together and assemble these all by hand, and you can give them to your local charity in terms of maybe the homeless, or in my case, they will go into the Tzedakah, a big Tzedakah box at the local public school, where if there are any children that are, in need, I will trust the staff to hand out one of these Tzedakah hugs. So all it is, I've done a little diagram here. You can buy these marvellous polyester throws, they call them. And they are approximately 127 centimetres by about 152 centimetres. Now, that equates to approximately 50 by 60 inches. So they're only small. They're like knee rug size. Now, they come in all manner of colours and patterns on them. I always choose a generic type of colour that could be male or female. But these are so practical because they are light, they are cozy and comfy, and they're soft, and you really feel like you're being hugged in something. And the other thing about it is that these throws of that size are reasonably cheap. The dearest I've ever paid is $10 for one, and it's not uncommon to see them as little as $6 or $7. Sometimes towards the end of the winter, they can even be as little as $4 and $5. So I want to show you how you can simply turn one of these throws into a hug, and with somewhere to put your arms, etc. So what you're going to do, when you get your throw home, you're going to find the longest side. This will be the 152 centimetre side, the longest side. Let's just be simple. Find the longest side of your throw, and you will turn down. So that's the inside there, as in the wrong side, I suppose, and then that's the right side. And what you're going to do is measure down approximately a ruler's length. So that is approximately 12 inches or I think 30 centimetres. That sounds right. So you're going to turn that approximate amount down. So there's the right side, there's the right side. This is the wrong side here. Turn that down, and you're and on both sides. So you do exactly the same on both sides. And what you're going to do is just, first of all, find yourself some buttons that are approximate, 2 buttons you will need. that are approximately the size in Australia of a 20-cent or a 10-cent piece. Now, I have put a couple of buttons here that you can see. You can take a screenshot of this, incidentally. And I always go for the buttons that have the 4 holes in them. And I'm sure many of you will have these odd buttons here. They're tins of buttons. I do. I have enough buttons to button down half of Australia. So, but a good size button, I try and go for about a 20-cent size or a little bit less, you know. And you can contrast it, match it to the type of fabric, or you can go all out and put a bright wild button on there. Not buttons with shanks though. They need to be flat buttons. That was the one I used, and you'll see it's got, you know, you got 4, it's a cross sort of thing, 4 holes instead of 2. So after you've turned down your 12 inches, you then get your needle, a thread that sort of matches the fabric, and just do a few slip stitch to hold that fold down to 12 inches in place. I sometimes put a safety pin in it when I've measured it on both sides, and then a few slip stitches on the edges here, a couple of securing stitches, then start sewing on your button. And then, of course, you end it off as you normally would after you've sewn a button on. So there's no machine sewing. Anyone that can sew a button on a garment can do these. And so then, of course, you go across and you do it on the other side, and the same procedure, fold down that 12 inches and put your button on. So now this then becomes the armhole. So what you're doing, you can have enough, you've got enough fabric that it can come over your head, especially with a child. You know, they can wrap themselves up and they put their hands in through where those holes are, where you've made the button, you know, where you've secured the buttons. There's an opening there. They can put their hands through there, and then I'm working with a bit of pressure here, trying to stay in view of the camera. And then you put your hands through the armholes that you've created with that button. Now this is a one size fits all, so you can make this for a child, or you could, and they could pretty much wrap the whole of themselves up, be it put it on their head or just around, and then there's enough of that width to really wrap around a child, snuggle them up, a young child. And also, if you have elderly family or friends and you want to give them a really nice gift, look, I can tell you as a nurse, knee rugs are great, and often people go to a lot of work making beautiful patchwork knee rugs, but sometimes they're actually too heavy and they slip off. So you are better off going to your local cheap store. There's all sorts of, like in Australia we have Crazy Clarks and, I can't remember, there's a whole heap of them, you know. And you can buy these already made, these throws, as I said, anywhere from about $5 to $10. No sewing required except to put 2 buttons where you use as the armholes. And they are huge armholes, but that way they make a really nice hug for an older person or a large person. They're light, they're cozy. You can sit there and you just feel so nice and snug. And I think these are just superb gifts to give people, not only just for a present, your friends and family, but if you wanted to do something for your local community, these are a great idea to give to people, especially those that need some extra warmth, like the people who are disadvantaged and homeless, etc. So my challenge to you is you get together with some of your friends and tell them, you could surprise them and say, I want you all to go out and buy one of these. Tell them that they're a throw and I know they might vary a few centimetres, but roughly you want one that is 120 centimetres by 152 centimetres, or equates in inches to 50 by 60 inches. These polyester or synthetic or whatever you call them, but you know what I'm talking about, these lovely velvety, I don't know, velour type scrunchy things. And to tell them to bring 2 matching buttons or something like that, or you could provide the assortment of buttons and needles and thread, invite them all over for coffee and tell them it's a surprise, and then sit them all down and say, right, now, you know, this, you're donating this throw to charity. You can tell them that in advance. We're gathering them at my place and having morning tea. When they get there, they can all sit down and sew these 2 buttons on, and they have made really a lovely, useful garment. You can still use it as a knee rug if you want to. So I think these are a great, cheap, simple item to use for in terms of tzedakah. So I would love you all to let me know how you're getting on with them and what you've done with them. And please do remember, in the winter months, there's a lot of people, you know, that are cold. So these, you could take a screenshot of this because it's got the measurements. I've done it in centimetres, but if you rewatch the video, you know that it equates to 50 by 60 inches. The buttons with the 4 holes are better, flat buttons, not buttons with shanks. And best to have them a little on the large side rather than too small. So please think about those in your community who are in need. In a previous video, I've spoken about a tzedakah box with money in it at the local school for those children who come to school without lunch or lunch money. And so these are another idea that you can add to your tzedakah that you're doing for your community. These are fabulous. I've been doing these for a long time just as gifts, and then it just dawned on me, why not? You know, this is so easy to do, and there's no sewing required. So you only need to be able to sew a button on and you can assemble it. So just think how great an effort that would be and how much fun you'd have doing it. And Hashem will be very pleased with you. Please let me know how you're getting on with yours in the future. Love to see some photos or something of what you've done and how successful you've been at it. So get this going in your community where you can enjoy making them or assembling them with the buttons, and know that you really are giving a tzedakah hug, literally. You can even put a little tag and say, this is a tzedakah hug. Know that someone who cares about you has assembled this for you, just for you. So, and again, as I said, they make lovely little gifts for people, especially if people are travelling, because these are really light and you can wear them a bit like an oversized coat or